name's Cody McManus, owner, founder, creator of Rowdy's Garage, and then behind me is my F82 M4 Frankenstein build. 3-rotor powered, carbon bodied, just badass. So Rowdy's Garage is a selective automotive fabrication shop. We try and stick to either high-end builds or cool custom fabrication. It's got to be different, cool, unique. That's pretty much what we love taking on, and we try and just stick with that. I got the car, I think, about 3 years ago with 100% of the intent of turning it into some sort of crazy SEMA build, street build, like a little bit of everything. I wanted a multi-purpose car, not just a show car, but something that can push my fabrication skills, and then something I could actually take out and not be a trailer queen.
Hey everybody, I hope you are enjoying this introduction to the Rowdy's Garage series. Putting a triple rotor into an M4 is really cool, but something on the complete opposite end of the spectrum that's also really cool is our sponsor, Zoox. Zoox is a fully functional electric autonomous vehicle. They are the first in the industry to showcase a driving purpose-built robotaxi capable of operating at up to 75 miles an hour, intended to achieve level 5 autonomy. This means there are no safety drivers and no remote controls. While they're not ready for commercial use yet, this is a key milestone towards the future of their autonomous robotaxi fleet and ride-hailing service. I'm excited to try this type of ride-hailing technology for myself. Always traveling for shoots, this means I won't have to have any awkward conversations on the ride from the airport to the hotel while charging my phone wirelessly and playing my own music. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan of the look of the Zoox vehicles, the bi-directional driving capabilities, and 4-wheel steering. Personal transportation is evolving. If you don't want to take your project car on your commute to work, reclaim your time with Zoox. Let Zoox handle the traffic while you enjoy a smooth, relaxing ride in a spacious cabin designed for riders. Big thank you to Zoox for sponsoring today's video and supporting new content on the channel. Let's get back to it. 20B motor inside the M4 here. I don't think I've ever seen a new gen M car with a motor swap, so this is quite fascinating to see in person, especially with probably the last motor you'd think someone would put in it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how it's all set up, the way it's sitting, all the fabric you've done.
We took all the precautions to make it 10 times better, stronger, everything than it was from factory. So starting with that, it's all billet plates. Factory, they run cast iron, which high horsepower motors are prone to cracking. They're all billet aluminum with a cast center that is replaceable. So everything is replaceable on the inside. There's a billet eccentric shaft, which way stronger, everything possible, all crazy stud work, oversized studs. We tossed it in, realized how low we could actually sit it. So we went with a front motor mount, got everything custom made to the factory aluminum subframe, which is really cool. So we're able to just weld this motor plate setup in.
So is it kind of sitting on the factory cross member there, and then you have this custom mount up front?
Even though it doesn't look like it, there's probably like 3/4 of an inch of clearance underneath. Since we're running a dry sump oil pan, the oil pan's only maybe 1 inch thick at its thickest. So that's where our ports are and everything else, versus any sort of normal oil pan. The clearance gained is out of control. That's also what allows us to mount it so low. The way we're going about it, we're limiting the oil being aerated, starvation issues, plus we can up our capacity, being that we can have a remote tank anywhere we want. So the intake manifold, we're having a company do a custom billet one. That will end up bolting right to here. This motor is a semi-peripheral port motor. So we got our main ports here, and these are our semi ports. These are added. So this will come up over, wrap around here, and we'll have some sort of throttle body location in this area. Goal, realistically, I'd like to have the car driving under its own power by summer. Whether it's 100% done and finalized, I don't know if that will happen, but I would like it driving by summer and completely done for SEMA if that happens next year. The main focus is going to be roll race as far as what we're doing there, with enough detail to hold its own at SEMA. So we're trying to do everything as if it's a show car, but make sure everything that is done also functions to the best of its ability. We're going to shave all the holes in the firewall. You can see stuff like this. We already started making patch panels. Those all get welded in. Number one, this looks really good when we're done. Everything's clean shaven. But number two, any pinhole, anything in the firewall if you have a fire in the engine bay, that stuff seeps in real quick into the cabin with any little, it'll find its way. So not only for safety, but for looks, we got to go through, do everything, and then if we are running our harness or this or that, we're gonna make new holes for connectors, whatever we need when that time comes. But for now, everything gets blocked off. We chopped the whole front end over here, started replating everything down below, so everything looks kind of like it came that way. And then we'll do a bumper support and all the final stuff when that time comes.
Now, the last time I was here, which I luckily still have some footage of, we chopped the fenders off. Or I mean, I did, you did. But I got to watch you do it. So, why?
Why?
Let's take a little walk down.
So, the whole plan is I wanted, this comes back to the time attack dreams and all the other stuff. If anyone looks at actual original factory Porsche, like the Cup cars and the GT3Rs and all that stuff, Porsche does pretty much all their stuff with a white interior, and then they normally do the outside pillars and stuff that's not cut white as well. Then teams come by, they wrap it, they do whatever you gotta do, but not many people get to see those cars without liveries on them. If you look at them testing from Porsche facility, they have all carbon panels and then full white interior, then they'll have like a white trim, white mirrors, white door pulls. It just shows how little's left of the vehicle. And for me, that's the coolest thing ever, where someone can see something like this, and if we have a whole carbon bodied car, and then something like my antenna is white, something like my door handles is white, it just brings back to like, hey, this is what's left of an OEM BMW. Everything else doesn't exist, but these couple little things.
What's marked in white?
Yeah, so that's like the coolest thing to me. So you'll see a little white strip here with what the metal's left, and then everything else will be carbon. And for me, that's like one of the coolest things ever, when you can subtly show how much work's been done.
Is this going to be like a drag setup right here?
Within reason. This comes back to the prioritizing parts. These are, I think, $60 steelies. So I would have loved to get my baller wheel right now, but it just wasn't financially, didn't make sense. So these are just a simple zeroed offset wheel. Same tire I was gonna run to help me really mock things up, figure out what I'm gonna do body wise, and then easily get my dimensions for a cheap, simple way while keeping it rolling. So this will be the same size tire. The wheel will be shifted in a little bit more, just so we can really tuck. But this is about what we're gonna be looking like for our drag setup.
And then you'll have a big carbon over fender.
Nice over fender, OEM look coming down, and hopefully tucking down to like here. Hide some of that tire like
so give it a little stance at the same time.
Yep.
Very cool.
So as far as the design of the car and everything, last year for SEMA, Kaiser came out, and I'm cool with both the guys from Live to Offend, which are Kaiser and Eric. So both of them came out here, and we had a shop meet going on where we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and both of them stopped by. After that, we've just been, you know, friends going back and forth. He's a huge rotary fanatic. For everyone who follows the Kaiser on Instagram, they know. He's a big RX-7 guy, has one. Back and forth with my build and everything, we just got to talking one day, and I was like, want to work with me? And it's a little bit off of what he normally does. His is as wild, as wide as he can go. And this, we had to somewhere meet in the middle, where we wanted an OEM plus style look, where it still looked OEM, clean, slightly wider, slightly different touches to keep it more of that drag and roll race feel. Ended up coming up with all the renders, and I'm really happy with it. We mixed everything from the drag car vibe, the stance, the big fat wheels, all the German inspiration throughout the car with the carbon bodies, the white interior, all took from Porsche stuff. It's really just exactly what I had in mind, and I can't thank him enough for bringing it to life.
Renderings are good, but I kind of like to see stuff in front of me. I had this bumper sitting here, so I wanted to kind of bring Rowdy to life and just make sure that it was gonna look good before I cut a brand new carbon fiber part up. I laid everything out, marked out my holes, did everything, and I did it according to the render. Didn't quite line up, so I actually spaced the holes out a little bit more than the render and drilled it to make sure that I was gonna like it. So stuff like this, the render had it one way. I changed up a few things, brought it to life, and helped really see what I was gonna do, but this is the final, how it's gonna look. We cut all our speed holes, centered up my parachute mount where we wanted it, trimmed the whole bottom balance. Once we go to a carbon fiber part, I have my layout right here and there's no guessing.
You showed me a very nice little detail within this parachute mount here.
It's quick pinned under the bumper. You reach your hand up, there's a hole pinned behind, so it's all quick release. So in case we need to get the bumper off, whatever we gotta do, it's as simple as giving it a little twist. Comes right out, nice snug fit. And then just as simple as pulling the bumper. And then you can see the whole support is tied directly into the frame rails of the chassis where the crash beam goes, and everything's made up nice and snug so it can actually stop the car the way it's supposed to.
And that's using the OEM mounts there,
Yep.
both sides.
Yep, so these are the OEM crash beam plates. I just cut them off, save a little bit of time, so we cut those off, bent up a nice bar where we wanted everything height-wise to lay out. Got it all fit up, made our slip fit tube. Our pin just goes through both right here, nice and easy. And then everything's gusseted for strength. This is notched inside to fit, so everything was notched together rather than doing one then the other.
Instead of leaving that straight, so it just makes a little bit of contact against the bar here.
Yep,
So the notch
it also
perfectly-
helps any side-to-side load because it's pressed against the thing, so not only is the notch helping it, but the pin, and it just makes everything a little bit stronger.
I've worked since I was young, probably 16 or whatever. I've worked for some performance shops. I've bounced around in the area a lot. Probably when I was like 18 or so, I was at one shop where they did do some custom fab work, and just paying attention to my boss, doing everything. I went out and bought a welder one day just because I was tired of waiting on him to work on my car. Started messing around in my driveway, messing up a lot of stuff. It wasn't an easy process, but slowly but surely I got better and better and was able to figure everything out. And then over the past, I want to say 8 years or so, kind of 8, 9 years, it just turned into this.
As far as in the back here, we're gonna be running a fuel cell. Fuel cell we decided to put directly above our rear subframe. How much power the car is gonna make, we want a little bit of weight specifically placed to try and help traction.
So you'll want a full tank every time?
Yeah, something like that. So the plan was to put a fuel cell directly above the rear subframe. Behind, we're gonna do a rear mounted radiator setup, help keep the front clean. It'll add a little bit more capacity to our coolant and everything else. Just rotaries run a little bit hotter than most, so all this little stuff like the dry sump, the extra coolant, the extra oil, it all helps with the reliability and keeping everything working as it should. So we're gonna be putting that back here, probably do some sort of NACA ducts.
You think through the windows here?
Yeah, we'll probably have some on the quarters and maybe 2 up top, coming through a rear firewall that will be built to separate the gas tank, the rear mounted rad, all the rear of the car. Also, the speed holes in the bumper and the trunk will help exit our air from everything we're doing back here as well, so nothing's trapped.
It's a big cage in there.
Yep.
There wasn't, the last time I was here, you were laying down the, I don't know what they're called, the bases?
Yeah, the little boxes. The reasoning behind the cage looking the way it does is my most important thing is I plan on racing this thing on the street. My whole goal was to go run with a lot of these big dogs down in Texas 2K, Florida 2K, and run this thing on the road. Cages on the street can really hurt you. unsupported cage or something too close to your head, like it's really not good on the street. So my whole thing was I'm ignoring a lot of the specs that I should be to make it, in my opinion, safer for me if anything happens on the road.
How do you design this in SolidWorks or anything?
No, this is all just done here.
So no computer software used to design and lay this out?
No, everything's
just did it.
Everything's completely like, I looked at what I want. We did our main hoop first, figured everything out. I knew I wanted to tie in to supports back here rather than just flat. It allows for a really cool junction, really cool fab stuff, extra support. We can run our adjustments through our coilovers, through the ports itself, so it adds something as well. There's a lot of reasonings behind everything I did here, not just the obvious. Hand notched here, designed here, figured out, and just went off what looked good and what I felt would be the safest. So you can see the fitment here, where that's a pain because it's not a standard notch. You got to do it with a grinder. So that's all done by hand with a grinder. There's no tube notcher. There's no anything that can do that besides for you because of the nature of it. So certain things like that, if you're picky like me, it can get frustrating because everyone has their good days and bad days.
For sure. And now, what about the bends?
So these bends are also another thing that was a real pain. These are just mocked up in here for right now. Nothing solid. It all moves around. It's just taped. These bends are roll bent. This comes back to the thing getting around my head. So a standard cage builder would run it straight, bend, bend. We took the roll bender and bent this whole hoop to match the radius of the car.
The roof line there.
So then that way, number one, it's the furthest possible away from your head. And number two, obviously the closer to the roof, better, you know. These still got to get trimmed, cut, tacked into place, everything else like that.
Did you count the amount of feet of pipe that's in here?
Not yet. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know how much yet, but it's a lot. I think I ordered like 200 feet of pipe when I originally started.
So I already know who's going to do my fab work on the neon for my intercooler piping, intake, maybe exhaust if I can't afford that much titanium. But if you guys need fab work,
Best thing to do is either email me, email's linked on our Instagram, or DM me. We'll normally get back within a couple of days, 2-3 days. We could try and get back to everyone and then just set it up from there, you know?
but bring him cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because he is an artist in his own way, and the more freedom you give him to express himself, the happier you're going to be. But speaking of workload, you just picked up another project for somebody that's right behind you, and it's kind of unorthodox as well.
Yeah, it sticks with the whole theme of what we're doing here.
Let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so we have a rotary in a BMW, and then you have an FD here with a
Hellcat motor.
Hellcat motor.
Yes.
Is this yours? Whose is this? What's going on with this?
So this is a little giveaway car we're doing with a local shop, Ripatuned. They're a Hellcat performance shop. I'm fortunate enough to be helping them get the car sorted, motor mount wise, exhaust wise, all the basic fab work needs. Get this thing stuffed in here, then it's gonna get shot back over to Ripatuned. They're gonna do all their stuff that they do, and they know how to do well. Car will be set up for E85, tune it, all the plumbing, wiring, nonsense, send it off to paint, and then it's gonna get given away.
All right, so definitely stay tuned to Cody here if you want details on how to win a FD with a Hellcat motor. I'm sure I'll post about it too when the time comes around. But it almost looks like it's right at home there. It looks like a heart.
Perfect. It's perfect.
So if you guys didn't think the motor was impressive enough on its own, wait till you see the turbo. He just carried it downstairs, and I've seen big turbos in my life before, but it's a large turbo. So let's check it out here. This is a comp turbo.
Very large.
Comp turbo what?
It is, I believe, a 94 mil.
94 mil. Typically, on most, turbo cars, Evos, STIs, most people run 3-inch piping normally.
Yeah. So
do you have 3-inch piping laying around anywhere? Because I can.
yeah, we'll spin
Look
it.
at this, guys.
This is our typical downpipe bend. This is a 3-inch bend. So
3-inch piping, so intake, exhaust. On
yeah, you got
most-
your 50/50H, your 60/62s, stuff like that. Your 30Rs, all that stuff normally runs a 3-inch exhaust. So if we spin this around, we can see.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
Kind of what we're dealing with here.
So how much boost do you think you're gonna run?
All set up and everything's running good, and start breaking in the car, this thing will easily see well over 50 psi. So
5-0.
yes,
Wow.
yeah, definitely. I would imagine it's going to live somewhere in the 60 psi range when we're getting after it.
Because a turbo this large needs that pressure to
Yeah, so
put the fins to work.
It definitely needs a certain amount of air. Now, rotaries move a lot of air, especially considering that it's a 3-rotor. Liter per liter, the standing piston size, I think rotaries work out to about 30% more air and 30% more fuel required than standard piston equivalent. So they do move a lot of air.
It looks like you got the billet tip too, and the nice accents, chrome finish.
Yep, everything's
Anodized
all
purple.
polished. It's a full stainless rear housing that was actually polished. The front, it's got a light polish on it now. We're gonna send it back out after all the fab's done and everything, and we're gonna get that repolished. But it is a oilless, coolantless. They have a specialty high temp grease that is used. That's the way it operates. So every certain amount of miles, it'll burn an X amount of grease and just add new grease into it and just keep going. So I'm excited to see. I've personally never used one.
Yeah.
So for this kind of build and how we're trying to keep everything clean, it just made sense.
You just inject into that
Yep.
bung there.
Yep, right there. Fill it up. Give it a couple pumps. And
So
then
no oil lines, like
no
nice and
coolant.
clean.
No, yeah. So and then plus it's a full aluminum center housing, so we were able to anodize it to match, and it's just it's a really cool showpiece as well.
Yeah, I can't get over the size of this
V-man
clamp.
clamp.
Yeah, the V-man. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What is the radius here? It's gotta be like a crazy
10-inch, give or take.
10-inch. Jeez. So where's it gonna go on the car? How's it gonna sit? So here,
We'll knock this up over here. So realistically, all said and done, we should sit somewhere about there.
jeez. So it's gonna be pretty forward facing.
Yeah. Yep.
Is your frame coming out far enough for that?
Yeah, my bumper is probably near my foot.
Okay.
So we got plenty of room for it to tuck behind the grill. Somewhere like that.
While I'm in here admiring the beautiful full carbon dash, the trans here, it looks like, so it's like a custom, what was you said, T56 trans?
Yeah, so there's a few different style T56s. I worked with Grannis Racing on figuring out what the shortest T56 they offered was.
Because is this the OEM like hole for the trans?
This
on
is
the M4 motor?
from right here to right here. This is all the OEM holes. So we did trim a little minor spot to clearance some stuff, but this is the exact OEM location.
So that took some measurement for sure.
Yeah, that was some pre-planning, working alongside Joel, because he had a bunch of different styles in stock, was able to get me accurate measurements, and then figuring out where I wanted the motor to sit, because I did want it as far back as possible without cutting my firewall. So we found the trans that worked for that, and then he was able to build off of that casing to give me exactly what I needed with the bell housing and everything else. So it is a fully built T56 mag, Liberty gear set, cryo treated, carbon synchro, everything you can do to it so it can be bulletproof. So It is not a sequential, but it is a car that I can flat foot shift. It's still an H pattern.
Yeah.
And the whole inside's like a sequential as far as strength and what I can do shifting wise. It's just true H pattern.
Traditional trans H pattern, but you shift.
Yeah, flat foot just
like a sequential.
bang gears. Yep.
Now, does it sound like a sequential?
It will have a whine to it because of the gear set.
Okay.
So it's not as crazy probably, but it is definitely going to be louder, and you're going to know what's up versus a standard. We're not sure what we're going to hear over the motor, but
yeah. So 94 mil turbo whistling, triple rotary brapping, whining transmission, street monster.
Yeah, the motor, it's a semi P-port / Bridgeport motor. So it is going to
I'm going to pretend I know what that is, but I don't.
Yeah, so Bridgeport is what everyone likes for sound.
Okay.
That's what gets your whole
Brap, brap,
brap,
brap,
brap, brap. Yeah, the real crazy aggressive, and then being a semi P-port, it's just more air, more fuel, more noise, more everything.
Okay.
So between the combination of everything, this is going to be a real loud endeavor.
Realistically, hopefully in the next month or so, we can have all the cage work finalized, a bunch of piping all tacked up through the engine bay, intercooler mounted, turbo mounted, intake manifold on, injectors in, start wiring. So it's a little slow right now while we wait on a couple key elements, but if everything gets here when it should, this next month should be pretty crazy with progress. So it's a bunch of stuff that's going to happen all at once. Hopefully sooner than later we can get this thing fired up.
So quick explanation about this whole series. You know, I've known Cody for a bit now, and I knew he built some crazy stuff, and I always kind of kept my eye on his projects. And then when he finally committed and showed off that he was doing this, I knew I wanted to bring different content to the channel to help grow the channel and give you guys some new things to learn and you know, see visually. And the biggest part about this for me was that you're gonna street drive this car, because those are the things I love the most when it comes to like you know, Prime hosting Sevens Day and street icons, like that raw street driving feel. And the fact that I'm gonna follow along with Cody here on his build, and then when the car is done, we're gonna take it out on the street and do a traditional cinematic feature.
We're going to go to the beach.
We're gonna go to the beach, okay. Cody's a beach guy.
We're going to figure it out. It's going to be summer. We're going to go take it for a cruise, so it's not like we're around the block.
Yeah.
And we're going to go get some cool cinematic beach shots.
Cinematic beach shots, I'll go wherever he wants to go, but after you know, watch the cinematic feature or whatever order you see the videos in, you can gain a new appreciation for the vehicle you're seeing on camera, because that's a big thing with when you only see the cinematics. You can't, even though you can visualize and see all the details, it's going to be a whole new difference of appreciation for what they're seeing.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for the first addition to the Rowdy's Garage build series. Very big thank you to Cody for letting us come and annoy him with the camera for a while, especially after already filming all this and then losing it to a ransomware attack because I had yet to back up the footage onto another drive. But lesson learned, we got some great content today that's going to add to the ongoing story of this 20B rotary M4 street monster, as you call it. So Cody's info is going to be right across the screen now. It's Rowdy's Garage Instagram. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out, show him some love, and anything else you'd like to add?
No.
No. Okay. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.